Four friends make a pact to lose their virginity before they graduate high school. Special guest Eddie Perez-Cortes joins us to chat about the scam of unrated DVDs, catchy McDonald's jingles, and the Williamsburg of MILFs. One time, at band camp, we found out if American Pie stands the test of time.
Test of time, James and Alan have to say, do the movies you love still hold up today? James says Gladiator with the glut, Alan says as a father blah blah. It's the test of time, James and Alan have to say, do the movies you love still hold up today? Test of time, James and Alan have to say, do the movies you love still hold up today?
Hello everyone, welcome to the Test of Time. I'm James Brief, and joining me as always is my buddy, pal, co-host, and the director of this podcast, Mr. Alan Noah.
Hi, that's me, and joining the two of us, coming back on the show, is our good friend, Eddie Perez-Cortes. Eddie, welcome back.
Thank you guys very much for having me. I'm delighted to be back here for American Pie.
Yes, I'm thrilled to have you. I'm so glad we were able to get you back on. We were texting back and forth for a while, trying to figure out which movie would be your next appearance. You picked American Pie, and I love that choice. It was a great one. I was very excited. There was another movie you were debating about. What was the other one? Was it
Spies Like Us?
Yes, Spies Like Us. Okay. But American Pie edged out Spies Like Us.
It did.
You can always come back for Spies Like Us.
I'd be honored to.
As long as you don't horrifically screw up this podcast.
I'll try not to.
I'm sure you won't, but the pressure's on now. But tell us, what's your history with American Pie? This movie came out in 1999, so that would be in between our sophomore and junior year of college,
Yes,
right? Okay.
Yes. So I just started dating my now wife. We went to see it together in the movie theater.
Oh, you and your wife, Courtney.
Yes.
Who's different from my wife, Courtney.
Correct.
You saw it on a date together.
We did.
How long had you been dating at that time?
For about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So it was early on in our relationship.
Okay.
We, obviously liked the movie, and then we ended up getting the DVD.
Okay.
Afterwards, saw it a bunch of times afterwards, probably like half a dozen to a dozen times. The DVD now sits in my basement. I had to rent the movie on Amazon to rewatch it because we no longer have a DVD player.
Oh, well, wait a second. You got rid of your DVD player, but you kept your DVDs?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow. Why did you keep the DVDs?
Nostalgia.
Oh, okay. I get that. I was actually just telling my Courtney that I think I might need a new DVD player because I was watching this movie on DVD that I rented from the library, and the audio was getting really low. It started off kind of quiet, and then as I was watching the movie, the DVD player just got quieter and quieter and quieter. And then I put the DVD in the Blu-ray player upstairs, and that one was fine. So I think my DVD player is dying and might need to be replaced. And it's not even just a DVD player, it's a combo VHS DVD player.
Those are hard to come by.
They are. I've been looking on Facebook Marketplace, and
good luck.
Yeah, I mean, or I could let it go. But.
So the last time I watched a DVD before we got rid of our DVD player, we put it through in a DVD, and we're used to now obviously having 4K streaming and everything.
Sure.
Put in the DVD, and the video quality was absolutely horrific compared to 4K.
Sure.
So I was like, screw this. Get rid of the DVD player.
Right.
Kept some DVDs, again, for nostalgia. I could probably upload them on my PC and make that into, at some point, a media streaming device, but I haven't done that because I'm lazy.
Sounds like a lot of time
Yeah,
and effort.
it is a lot of time and effort.
What you could do is play the movie on DVD and then set up a webcam like Jim does.
That's a great idea.
And then you could live stream it to everyone in your high school.
And make sure that it's really, really grainy quality also.
Obviously.
Yes.
Of course.
You guys watch the unrated version of this, or did you watch the regular version?
I watched the unrated version.
Me too.
Because you kind of have to. I was trying to find the original cut on DVD, and not to do a commercial for the Suffolk County Public Library system, but it is great. When I say I get a DVD from the library, it's from any library in the entire county. You can pick from, a huge selection. I was clicking through on all of the different versions of American Pie. They're all the unrated version. And even if you stream it from Amazon, it's the unrated version.
Yeah.
So, yes, I watched the unrated version. I am nerdy enough that I looked up what the differences are, and it's basically nothing. There's like a couple extra shots of Nadia, and when Jim fucks the pie, instead of like
standing up, he's laying down.
Exactly. And when I was watching it, I saw him like on the kitchen island fucking it. I was like, I don't remember that.
Yeah,
same. And I remember back in the day when everyone rebought their libraries on DVD, I remember they would kind of upsell you. If it wasn't a movie you necessarily wanted to buy again, they'd be like, what about the unrated version of Van Wilder?
I think the tagline on some of them was, see Nadia like you've never seen her before. And technically that's true. Like you see an extra 4 frames of her. But saying that it's unrated, especially in a movie like this where there's nudity, you expect it to be a lot raunchier and more nudity, but it's only technically true because this is a cut of the movie that they did not submit to the MPAA for a rating, and therefore it is unrated.
Well, they actually did cut. It's the original cut of the movie. And they got an NC-17 rating.
Right.
So they had to scale it back, certain scenes, to get the R rating, and they put that into the unrated DVD.
My point was that, like, it's kind of like if you go into a store and they have a sign out front that says everything in the store is on sale, that doesn't mean they've reduced the prices because technically everything in there is for purchase, so it's on sale.
It's a deceptive practice of the movie studios because we'll pay extra, but give us something extra.
Right. So let's get into American Pie. For anyone who hasn't seen it, it's a coming-of-age teen comedy that follows 4 high school friends, Jim, Kevin, Oz, and Finch. Frustrated with their lack of sexual experience, the 4 young men make a pact to lose their virginity before graduation. Jim, curious to know what a vagina feels like, has sex with an apple pie. When Nadia, a beautiful foreign exchange student, asks Jim to help her study, he films her undressing in his room and sends a live stream to the entire school. He prematurely ejaculates twice and is humiliated, but he asks Michelle, a band nerd, to prom. Kevin has a beautiful girlfriend, Vicky, who wants to hear I love you before she sleeps with him. After they have a fight, Kevin learns how to give Vicky an orgasm. Oz is a lacrosse player who has no idea how to talk to girls. He joins the choir, and that's where he meets and falls for Heather. Finch considers himself an intellectual, so he concocts a scheme to find a prom date. He recruits his friend Jessica to spread rumors about how well endowed and experienced he is. A jock named Stifler decides to cut Finch down to size by slipping a laxative into his mochaccino, causing Finch to have diarrhea at school. The guys all have sex at Stifler's post-prom party. Jim with Michelle, Kevin with Vicky, Oz with Heather, and Finch with Stifler's mom, who's a MILF. Now, James, this movie, I remember, did well when it came out. It was like a surprise hit because all the teenagers and kids roughly our age went to see it, right?
Right, so the urban legend of this film, which apparently is true according to the links on Wikipedia, the screenplay for this film was shopped around famously as untitled teenage sex comedy that can be made for under $10 million that most readers will probably hate, but I think you will love. And this film was made, I found, $11 million budget, so, you know, right around what they said. But maybe that was, maybe it was 10 point something, maybe it was rounding up, you know, maybe it was in euros or Canadian dollars, who knows?
He said under 10. Under 10, I mean,
that's true. But this film opened on July 9th, 1999, and myself I can account for. Eddie can account for. He counted for opening weekend.
Two.
And Al, you were not opening weekend. Were you?
I don't fucking remember. I know I saw it in the theater opening weekend.
I don't know if I saw it opening weekend or not, but I definitely went to the theater and spent two tickets on it.
I definitely saw it opening weekend, and it opened at number 1 with $18.7 million, on its way to $102 million domestically, $235 million worldwide.
Wow.
But this film, by only the year 2000, had made $77 million in video rentals, $31 million for the theatrical version, $46 million for the unrated version.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you wonder what the foreigners that spent $200+ million on this movie worldwide thought of American culture?
I think I read something that people in some country somewhere, I'm forgetting the details clearly, but it was a joke that they didn't believe that American high school seniors would be virgins. Like that part of the premise, they just assumed everyone was, you know,
having sex.
Exactly, long before senior year.
But it's really interesting that you mentioned the foreign box office, because Universal really didn't have too much faith in it because it was like, let's throw 10 million at it. Maybe it'll be a flop and make 8 million. You know, all right, fine. Don't lose too much. But they had such low faith that even in their $11 million risk that they sold the foreign rights to this.
Right.
They wound up getting the rights to sequels, and it didn't last too long, but it had American Pie 2, then American Wedding, and then American Reunion. It had at least 5 straight to DVD sequels, because I just happened to read that Eugene Levy was in 4 out of 5 of those.
I was surprised that there were only 5. I thought there were a million of them, but the 4 that Eugene Levy was in, those were all before Schitt's Creek. The most recent one was after he had that show, and at that point could just say, this paycheck is not that important to me. But I was thinking of how we should talk about the movie, and I think probably the easiest way to do it would be to kind of break it down, going through each of the 4 friends: Kevin, Finch, Jim, and Oz. So, Eddie, you're our special guest. Pick one. Who should we do first?
Let's go with Finch first. I think that's the shortest one, probably.
Okay, yeah, probably. So, I'll kind of jump to the end with the whole laxative thing. I hate that. I will never find laxative humor funny. Oh, well, someone put a laxative in his drink and now he's gonna poop. I'm not trying to sound like Finch and being really pretentious. A good shit joke, sure, that can be funny, but I don't know, just the whole laxative thing, that never works for me.
I happen to think it can be funny, but I think it's kind of a tired cliche,
Yeah.
or a kind of other movies we reviewed recently, Mission Impossible, that had it kind of for comedic purposes, but
No, that guy does not have diarrhea. That guy throws up.
right, okay, but they throw something to give them the same effect.
Same basic thing, I know.
The only thing I will say in this one is that Finch, played by Eddie K. Thomas, I think he does an absolute fantastic acting job. Yeah, it's a toilet scene, but I mean, there is this absolute, he is holding in his poop, sweating, and he is contorting his body, because the joke is not only he's so high and hoity-toity, he doesn't want to poop in a public restroom, but in his the accidental the panic, Sean William Scott Stifler character has led him into the girls' bathroom that's occupied by all the girls that are now sort of being into Finch, so he doesn't want to have a huge diarrhea explosion. And that part I remember thinking was very funny in the theater, but I just thought it was just very well acted by him. I mean, the screenplay is going to say, struggles in toilet.
Right.
And I absolutely agree with you, Al. I just give him credit. It's just one of those scenes that I think Eddie K. Thomas elevated, maybe the director too, but he definitely made that scene as good as it could be.
So thinking about this now, I think we started with probably the best of the 4 actors from the kids, from the 4 main friends.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna put that out there.
Okay.
So I agree with you. I think that Eddie K. Thomas actually did a very good job acting for a variety of reasons. I think that he showed up as a sort of the classy of the kids. He's drinking not coffee but mochachinos.
Right.
He's playing golf. They all made fun of him because they're like, you can't rent a prostitute to win this bet. He was always thinking of the next step, sort of 2 steps forward. He ended up showing up so late to the party that everyone had left already. So he was kind of playing this I'm better than thou type character for the 4 friends.
Right.
I really like his relationship with Natasha Lyonne. Mm-hmm. At the prom, where Natasha Lyonne sort of gives him the flask and sort of makes up for the fact that she took $200 from him to spread these rumors.
Yeah.
He's going around school pretending to have beaten up Stifler and pretending to have a huge hog. Of all the friends, right? I think his character, again, best acted, sort of a more minor character, but I really enjoyed watching him on this rewatch.
Fair. There was part of me that was wondering if that would work, because rumors get around, right? In a high school situation, if there's a story going and it's juicy, people will talk about it. Would that make him that desired? 1, and then 2, if you buy that all the girls in the school are really super into Finch because of these stories, would that one explosive diarrhea make them all be repulsed by him?
Yeah.
Right? If you really believe that this guy has a huge dick and he's so good in bed, okay, yeah, Stifler pranked him and that was really shitty, pun intended. But yeah, I'd still fuck him, right? I mean, I don't know. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But let's talk about for a second the fact that his nickname is Shipwreck. He purposely, 16 minutes round trip to go home and take a shit.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. What are you going to do every day? Have to do a round trip? I remember in my middle school or my elementary school, the stalls in the men's room did not have doors.
What?
Yeah. So if you were shitting with your, out in the open.
Whoa.
Wow.
And so when I remember watching this movie for the first time, that came back to me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could see somebody wanting to do that and not wanting to shit it in school. But in this particular school, despite the fact that he went to the ladies' room to take a dump, and it seemed like this bathroom was fairly nice as compared to a random New York City public high school bathroom.
Sure. Well, I mean, just the fact that there were doors on the stalls.
Exactly.
You're setting the bar very low. Yeah. Okay, so we'll save what happens to Finch losing his virginity till the end. We'll do all the prom and the post-prom stuff at the end. Who should we do next, Eddie?
Beep, 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 beep. We're spinning the wheel. Beep, 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 and we've landed on
Oz.
Okay.
Chris Klein.
Right. Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
If you think Eddie K. Thomas was the best actor, I think Chris Klein could definitely be in the running for the worst. And it's funny because he was in Election that also came out in 1999.
Yes.
I think right around the same time, maybe a little earlier, I forget. But he's basically the same exact character in Election and American Pie.
Yeah.
And in Election, it works because he has this golly gee shuck sensibility that really makes sense for that character. But in this movie, he's doing the same shtick, but it just doesn't fucking work at all.
First of all, I think, in my opinion, the best actor in this franchise, or in this movie, when we discount the adults, Eugene Levy and Jennifer Coolidge, I think Natasha Lyonne is probably the best. Also, I think Alison Hannigan, very good as well.
Yeah, but Eddie said of the guys.
Oh,
Sean William Scott did an excellent job in this movie. I mean, it was her first performance.
I was gonna say I am a fan of Sean William Scott. I think he may have a narrower range, but he has done stuff where he's not just like a Stifler-esque guy, but he's also done the Stifler-esque stuff before. And he's good at that too.
In Old School,
Old School. Now he's in a sitcom with Tim Allen and Kat Dennings.
He's on the most recent season of Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think he's good at what he does. Also, I think Jason Biggs was fine in Orange Is the New Black. I saw him in that. I haven't seen Thomas Ian Nicholas in much, or Shannon Elizabeth really. Tara Reid, I know her. I think there was other stuff, but I just didn't really see her. No, I did see her in a movie that we're definitely going to review at one point.
I'm not doing Sharknado.
No. No, definitely a movie we're going to review is Josie and the Pussycats.
Okay, sure.
That movie we are going to review.
I'm just glad I got
that was funny.
All right, but let's talk about Oz. In the beginning of the movie, he's on a date with this college girl.
Yeah.
And
so painful.
It's painful when he just says, suck me beautiful, and then he gets rejected. I kind of didn't understand why this girl is on a date with this guy, because she's like a feminist studies major or like a women's studies major, something like that, and she's in college. Why is she on a date with a high school guy, let alone a jock? He suggests going to
Lookout Point.
Yeah. But it's her car, so she drives there. Like, why? Why do any of that?
Before that, he makes a very misogynist comment about Lifetime Network.
Yes.
Right at the beginning of the movie.
Right, because Jim was talking about watching the scrambled porn.
Correct.
And he's like, the only women's channel should be, or something about the women's channel.
Yeah.
Like all the
And clearly they're setting that up to have the transformation, the Oz transformation.
Right.
But Chris Klein plays the character, acts the character so poorly. They're setting up to be the most dramatic of the four friends.
Yeah.
Him and Mina Savari. But he just doesn't deliver from an acting standpoint.
He really is the only character who has
a transformation.
Yeah, like an arc.
Yeah.
And I mean, Mina Suvari is not great in this movie. They have zero chemistry together.
that's not a joke, you're a jerk, or something like that.
Right.
It's such a bad line, such a bad delivery.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
It is. It's really painful. Okay, so he becomes more sensitive and he like joins the glee club to meet girls. Then he has to choose between lacrosse and singing.
Oh my God.
I mean,
that whole scene with the coach at the end. If you're going to score, go and score. And then he runs to the other side of the campus.
yeah. He can't sing also, by the way.
But that was Chris Klein and Mina Suvari singing.
Right. Why? Dub them.
When you hear that song, do you believe in magic? And I hope you do.
Yeah.
It's pathetic probably, but I just think of a McDonald's jingle. You'll always have your friend wearing big red shoes when you believe in magic. I had never heard this song before. I only remembered it from a McDonald's commercial in the 90s.
Wow.
So when it came on in American Pie, I'm like, oh shit. There's so many jingles and commercials that I would always kind of be like, this is a really catchy fucking jingle. I remember it was like Honda or Toyota, they had a thing about summer sales, and the end of the commercial said, see you in September.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is great. And then now we're at the Mazda no sale. No.
Yeah.
No. I didn't know these were like, and I'm like, these are fucking great jingles for commercials. So I always thought it was a McDonald's song. And yeah, then Chris Klein is singing it. So it was especially funny to me when I saw it.
Whatever he does.
Like his little scatting.
Yeah.
Also just the quote unquote stakes of the big lacrosse game and the big glee club championship. It's all just so eye roll worthy.
It really is.
I guess you could say that maybe Glee ripped this off.
Or you can draw a parallel to movies like Pitch Perfect.
Sure.
Did Pitch Perfect have its, comeuppance because there was a cappella in this coming of age movie?
And basing only on the South Park parody, can I guess that High School Musical is about this too? Because I think Zac Efron's the jock that becomes a musical. I'm guessing that there's a big showdown about a basketball team and the...
My kids have seen High School Musical and High School Musical too. I never have, but maybe...
Find out
maybe.
and report to us during Spies Like Us.
Yes.
All right, so next we got Jim and Kevin left.
Beep, 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 beep. And what we land on?
Kevin.
Okay, saving Jim for last. I see what you're doing here.
Now, to me, this was the only star in the entire film.
Because of Rookie of the Year?
Yes, and I even knew that he was in the direct-to-video sequel, A Kid in Aladdin's Castle, or something like that. They advertised it a lot, like on TV or something. Thomas Ian Nicholas, he had been a kid actor, and now it was like, cool, he's now in an adult film. Because this is definitely not a kid film, this is a teen film.
Right. His storyline with Vicky is basically... she wants him to say, I love you, and he can't. Tara Reid is beautiful, and she is seemingly a very good girlfriend. They're taking things slow. She gives him a blowjob, and then what does he do? 2 seconds later, he complains about it. They get into a big fight, and that kind of leads to the pact that's his idea. Like he says, we're all gonna have sex by prom, which is in 3 weeks. First off, like, great idea for a pact, bro. The only one of the four of you with a girlfriend.
He's already literally on third base.
Yes,
exactly. Use the analogy.
Yes, exactly.
What movie do you know of that has a pact that actually works out well?
It never can.
It never can.
But in the end, it does work out because people can learn a lesson. But I actually slightly disagree with the characterization of Vicky and Kevin. I think they're both kind of bad people. Not bad people. They're neither of them are bad people. I think
they're in a high school relationship.
I think they're in a high school relationship, and they're both kind of using each other.
Yes.
Because
I agree with you.
I didn't realize until now, because I thought he was kind of a little bit the jerk. But watching it now, Vicky is, she's really into, I literally need to hear the words. Like, I don't think she really needs to have it. It's not the emotion. She's like, can you say it yet? But she has a conversation with Natasha Lyonne, and that character, and she's like, yeah, I'm just going to go to Cornell next year and probably going to get drunk at a frat party. And she's like, I might wind up losing my virginity. It'll be stupid anyway. And she kind of is talking logically about it. She's like, I guess I'd rather the first time be with, not just some douchebag at a frat party. And it makes sense. But she doesn't say that to him. And, I think even if she even said it to him, or if she's like, look, both of us are going to go to college next year, we should be each other's first. That I think would be fair. But I think both of them are kind of using each other. Also, I kind of think that Kevin was being a jerk when he was complaining about the blowjob. Like you said, Al, he's the only one on that entire squad that's regularly hooking up, and he's getting pretty far. He's getting blowjobs, and so for him to complain to his virgin friends like, "Oh man, I'm sick of all these blowjobs," am I right? Like I was a virgin at senior year of high school, and I had a friend who was not a virgin, so there's a huge difference, and he wasn't like bragging like to make fun of me, but had he complained about it in front of me, I would have been like, fuck you, oh no, the blowjob.
Poor guy, you had to come into a beer.
Like he's hooking up with his beautiful, intelligent, like they seem to be like a sweet couple. It's kind of like, what are you complaining about? But I think he's kind of acting a little bit cool in front of his friends.
Yes,
I think that too.
Definitely.
Does Tara Reid's character really go to Cornell, or does she go to Ithaca College?
Do they specify? Or
I don't know. They say Ithaca.
She specifies Cornell. And also, I think it's almost certainly confirmed the second one with their 1 to 3, 3 to 1 rule. If you say you slept with 3 people, you probably slept with 1. And if you say you slept with 1 person, you probably slept with 3.
I just can't picture Tara Reid at Cornell.
That's totally fair.
One thing about the pact that was ridiculous, they handed out boxes of 12 condoms to each kid. Like, you're supposed to
actually,
lose your
they
virginity.
handed like 3 boxes to Jim.
Yeah, okay, like 36 condoms. I'm like, but it's supposed to be the first. I think you'll be able to buy another pack between them. I just thought it was funny.
I will give the movie credit, though, because of that scene. Distributing condoms, hey, safe sex.
Safe sex, yeah.
That is a good thing. That is a good lesson. And I will also give Kevin credit in that, something I completely forgot about this movie, he makes a commitment not just to, have sex, but he wants to give Vicky an orgasm. And I was surprised that there is any conversation in this movie about female pleasure, because it's a male-focused movie, and that's not always the case. I think you could also then make the counter-argument, which is, yeah, but he only wants to give her an orgasm so that she'll like sex and then want to have sex with him. So there is a selfish component to it, but he is still committed to giving her an orgasm.
Agreed with everything you just said. 2 other things I'll say. One, this movie talks about masturbation when a lot of previous movies did not talk about that.
True.
It actually starts with a masturbation scene.
Yes, it does.
And it also talks about female masturbation.
Double click your mouse.
Double click your mouse, which is an hysterical line, as Natasha Lyonne says.
So funny.
But the whole part about the Bible, that was really funny. You know who's the character? Kevin's brother?
Yes, it's Casey Affleck.
Casey Affleck.
Who's on screen for like 4 seconds.
Yes, exactly. He was in one scene, and he says, spicy tuna roll.
But then he's in the second film. He's kind of like the Obi-Wan Kenobi, where he like gives guidance in the second film as well. The Casey Affleck scene, unless he's lying to his brother. And I don't know, I have an older brother, and just the way he talks to his older brother, I don't think he's lying to him, because the Casey Affleck character specifically asks him, he's like, all right, you just trying to get in this girl's pants, or do you actually really love her? And he's like, no, actually, I really want to pleasure her. I don't know if he says love, but
he doesn't, but he says
answers
he cares.
The right answer, and he's like, all right, that's what I want to hear. So unless he's lying to his brother, which I don't believe he did, I think he at least thinks that he loves Vicky, or that he wants to please her.
By the way, that's another aspect of the unrated version. There were more pages in the Bible that you could see.
Right. Also, like, from a test of time perspective...
Oh, I mean, in 1999, there was no internet porn.
Exactly. So if you needed sex tips, you could ask somebody.
Yeah.
You could read a book. If there was a notebook, that you could look at, fine. But yeah, now there's a lot of easier ways to answer the question of how do I do oral sex. It is funny that while he's going down on Vicky, he stops and then
pulls out the
checks
Bible.
the book.
Yeah.
Right, like mid-act.
That is really funny.
Like, study up beforehand, man.
Which weirdly reminded me of a scene from Spies Like Us when they pretend to be surgeons and in the middle of the appendectomy have to go under and check out the textbook.
All right, should we move on to Jim? Are we good with Kevin and Vicky?
Jim or James?
Well, we're going to talk about Jim, and maybe James will talk about Jim.
You know, before we go to Jim, I was wondering if I could talk about another minor character from this film, and that is the character played by John Cho. Everyone thinks that this film is the origin of and this is a slang that I never heard popularly before this film, but I promise you I had heard before this film, and that is MILF, MILF. Mother I'd Like to Fuck, coined by John Cho and the other guys about Stifler's mom. Had you ever heard that term before this film, or was it your introduction?
It was my introduction.
I assume it was mine.
Okay, because I had definitely heard this before this film. So people wrongly attribute this film to be the origin of it. I will say it's probably the popularization of it.
Oh, definitely.
But
that was a very weird flex. I knew about MILF before it was called. You're a MILF hipster.
I don't credit that I made it
Oh,
up.
that was
I
great.
had a friend that said that about another mom, and I thought that was hysterical because I'm like, MILF? What
He's
the
the
fuck
Williamsburg
is
of
that?
MILFs.
And then we used to use... But we used to use that, and then people use it there, and after I would use it, it would be like, oh, American Pie, and I'd be like, no, I knew it first. But then,
But it definitely put MILF into the zeitgeist. It put a
did.
lot of things into the zeitgeist,
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
That's, I mean, using your term zeitgeist, James, which I know you love. But it put Bandcamp into the zeitgeist. It put MILF, a couple of other things.
It might just be those two. I don't know.
But then finally, let's talk about the main character of the film, Jim.
Right. So the movie starts off with Jim masturbating, watching scrambled porn. You know, from a test of time perspective, that's kind of laughable.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, if you have an unrestricted internet access device, you can watch porn very, very easily, and you don't have to suffer that humiliation of staring at the screen and trying to make out, oh, I think that's a boob.
But that's exactly what Jim says. He's like, there's a tit.
Exactly.
That's a tit.
Right. Right. I mean, I will jump ahead and venture a guess that for all three of us, when we get to the end of the episode and we say if the movie stands a test of time, our answers will depend either in full or at least in large part as to whether we can look past what Jim does to Nadia. Because in 1999, when this movie came out, it was funny and it was fine and no one thought that it was predatory. But yeah, you watch this movie now, it's a fucking crime. That's not melodramatic. That it is literally a crime that he films her without her knowledge.
It's an underage, or maybe did they mention she's 18 by any
No,
chance?
they don't.
So
They
it's
don't.
so... wow.
It's really horrific. And I couldn't help but think that you could still have the scene with naked Nadia, which they wanted to do, and having Jim ejaculate in his boxer shorts
Twice.
That could still be in the movie without the webcam part. Like, Oz gets really embarrassed when he says, suck me beautiful to the girl, and then he tells his friends the story and they laugh at him.
And then the worst part about it, though, is Jim goes to school the next day.
Right. And nothing happens.
And nothing happens.
There's no meeting with the principal. There's no disciplinary action. I mean, thinking about it today,
Oh, he'd be expelled.
he would be expelled.
He'd be in jail.
Exactly. I was going to say, like in the context of this pact, good news, Jim, you have a lot longer to have sex because you're not graduating anytime soon.
Nadia's the one blamed in the end.
Yeah.
Like, she's the one kicked out, and that's
She's the one that
almost
gets
the joke.
sent back to Czechoslovakia or wherever.
Yes, and
Yeah.
for plot purposes, you
Yeah.
had to get rid of Nadia.
Yeah.
Fine, that's perfectly fine. But all they really had to do was to fix this scene. She could have left and he's hanging out. He's like, dude, guess what? I got a naked chick in my bedroom changing. And accidentally, where someone's like, Jim, you idiot, you left your webcam on. And there could even be an ethical thing where Jim's like, no, don't. And there could be something, but they set her up. It's just so completely predatory.
But also, this was the early days of the internet also. Like, that webcam was pretty good for the early days of the internet.
That is very, very true. The technology was not as good. I kind of like your idea of, maybe the webcam was accidentally on. Or, here's another thought, have Stifler do it. Stifler sets up the webcam.
There you go.
Because there is the whole scene where they're talking about it. Like when they know Nadia's coming over, Stifler says, if you can't photograph a naked chick in your house, how the hell are you going to sleep with one? And then Finch says, I hate the guy, but he does have a point. Counterpoint to that, no, he fucking doesn't. But also, that sets it up. Jim says, no, absolutely not. There's no way we're going to record this poor girl without her knowledge, without her consent. And then Stifler sneaks into Jim's house. Yeah, maybe you have a scene with Jim's dad and Stifler. That could be really funny. You got two funny guys.
And you're still rooting for Jim because Jim's a good guy. He just can't get laid. And he has such bad luck, even with such a gorgeous woman who's basically throwing herself at him. He can't even finish the job.
Right. And then if you have Stifler do it, you also solve another problem, which is that there are no consequences for this live stream. Skipping ahead, but Stifler sees his mom having sex with Finch and he passes out. Then he comes to, ding dong, who's at the door? A big, huge Czechoslovakian guy who punches Stifler in the face or, threatens to have him deported or something. Like, who knows, who cares? I still say you could lose the whole live streaming thing, and if you still want to have the Blink-182 cameo, cool, put them somewhere else. It is funny when he ejaculates for the second time, and then all the girls are like, again, in unison. But yeah, that joke isn't that funny that it's worth it in the movie
it's not that funny.
To showcase the crime.
But since we're talking about Jim, can we talk a little bit about Eugene Levy's character?
We can and we should.
Yes.
God, he is great in this movie.
He steals the movie. Him and Jennifer Coolidge really steal the movie.
Yes.
Every single scene he's in is just phenomenal.
They got lucky that they got him. Hopefully someone knew him from, the Spinal Tap or something. But,
SCTV.
Yeah, or maybe SCTV or something. But by 99, they should have known. He had plenty of things he had done. A lesser film would not even have that role. It's a really sweet role. It is completely unnecessary to the film. Because Jim's mom's, I don't think she has a single line in the film.
She does at the very beginning.
She does?
Yeah. She's in the masturbation scene at the beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Her reaction to finding her son jerking off, and she's like, oh my! That is kind of the more conventional way that you would have a parent in a teen movie. Kind of in hysterics, like, oh no, this can't happen. And Jim's dad, I don't know if people were using this term back then, but he's sex positive.
He's changing the narrative. And this is one thing I'll talk about a little bit later on, but I'll start the theme now. This movie really tries to turn the narrative around coming-of-age movies.
Yeah.
In a couple of different ways. And the role of Eugene Levy's character, where he's really encouraging Jim to masturbate, to explore his sexuality.
Yeah.
Here are some, naughty magazines talking about how his brother used to masturbate, 5 times a day.
He covers for him with the whole
pie. Yeah. Like, he's really changed the narrative around, like, the role of a parent in a teen comedy movie.
Yeah. The way he says clitoris is funny, and you can tell that he's uncomfortable having these conversations, but he's having them anyway.
Yep.
And I'll say the catchphrase, as a father, yeah, it's awkward having these conversations with your kids, but you have to. That's part of the job. He does it in a way that is both sex positive and very funny. I love his dad joke right before prom where he says to Jim, be very careful when you're putting on the corsage. Because you think he's going to say the condom and Jim's waiting for it and you see him like, okay, I got to get another sex talk. But no, he was just talking about the corsage.
That's a good one.
That was very sweet.
There's a line in this film that I so forgot I used to use all the time because it completely described me. I had a haircut almost like Jason Biggs did, Jim's character did at the time.
Yeah.
And I used to use that line all the time where I would kind of do a little bit, my hair a little bit up or a little bit to the side. And I would say, all right, should I do cool James or laid back James?
I remember you saying that 8,000 times.
Yes, I definitely said that about 8,000 to 9,000 times around you.
Sure, I was being generous, but okay. All right, so should we move on to the end of the movie?
Before we do, I just want to say one thing about the four friends.
Go for it.
I want to know the backstory of how these four random people became friends. You think about it, right? They are four completely different people.
You're right. There's jocks. There's obviously nerdy ones. Probably different socioeconomic classes between them. But I'll tell you, I think there's one very, very easy explanation that I think is the only logical explanation in this one. They all went to elementary school together.
They're all friends because they're virgins. They're the only four virgins left, so they have to be friends. In the whole high school. All right, so let's get to the end of the movie, the climax, pun intended again. They go to prom. At the after party, at Stifler's after party, this is where the sex happens. It's not really surprising with Kevin and Vicky. You sort of expect it.
That scene is so awkward.
Awful. It's awful.
Or so painful to watch.
What do you want to do? Do you want to do, I don't know, regular
missionary?
missionary? Oh my
God.
God. I don't think I've ever said the word missionary to a
Oh my God.
to a partner in my life.
It was so awkward.
Oh my God. Well, I will give him the awkwardness of he's a virgin. And,
Yes.
and that is it. That
Yes.
might be exactly. It's the equivalent of that first kiss, like an open mouth
Yeah,
kiss.
exactly.
Was not good for
No,
anyone.
I know. I was telling Al, I listened to a podcast earlier today, and they said on the podcast the best acting in the movie was Tara Reid trying to be a virgin.
He says, I love you, and he means it, and he means it even after she dumps him.
So the two of them sleep together. Then there's Michelle and Jim. You don't really understand Michelle's character because she's just this aloof. This one time at band camp, and every single story is, the most boring thing ever.
Right.
And then Jim says all his sexual stories, and then she, of course, has that line that killed in the theater out of nowhere. That one time at band camp, I put a flute and hysterical. The way she goes in the room when they're having sex. What's my name?
Say my name,
Say
bitch.
my name, bitch. I mean, if you guys saw
That was
that was
ad-lib.
the line that all your friends
Yeah.
were probably saying immediately after the
Put on 2 condoms. I don't want you coming too early.
Right, because not only does Jim suffer no negative consequences from filming Nadia without her permission or consent, it gets him late.
Yeah.
Specifically, you're right.
Specifically, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, it helps
And
him.
it gets him married later on, 2 movies later.
Oh
Sure.
my God,
Sure.
children! Wow,
Yeah.
His whole life is because of that.
Because of Nadia.
That thing he did with Nadia. Wow,
Right.
That's real bad.
Yeah, real bad.
Right.
So that's hysterical. That scene, and then he wakes up hugging an inflatable doll.
Yeah.
And
And he goes, I got used.
and he's happy about
He's
it.
happy about it. Yeah, exactly.
You have Heather and Oz. They basically fall asleep in each other's arms in the dock. Well, they slept together, but did they have sex?
So I had the same question, and for the longest time, I thought no. Rewatching it last night, and did you watch the unrated version?
No, I didn't.
In the unrated version, he actually gets on top of her at one point, so it's more implied that they're having sex.
Okay.
In the theatrical cut, they just kind of fall asleep together. So I'm still on the fence about it.
I think it works much better that he didn't, because also he doesn't
I agree
fail.
with you.
He has the best chance of a legitimate relationship.
It works from an arc standpoint where they all want to have sex, and now 3 of them do, but 1 of them doesn't, but he's the one with the arc.
I get that. I didn't really notice the unrated difference, but I thought they had sex because they're kissing, the way that they're caressing, and I don't even remember him laying on top of her, but he kind of like lays her down, and there's blankets and the romantic music. I thought it was very clearly implied that they do have sex.
It's also on a dock, though. Like, it's so painful to have sex on wood. Like, come on.
I wasn't sure if they were on a dock or if they were in a room overlooking the dock.
No,
but
they
then
were on
you
a dock.
see them on the dock in the morning. Then in the next scene when they're talking about it, he says no. But there's something in his face where I think he
may not be. He's trying to maybe protect her dignity or something by not being a braggart about it.
Yeah.
Or something. So it's ambiguous. That's what it is.
It's very ambiguous.
It definitely doesn't say either way.
And I think it's meant to have these types of conversations, honestly.
I think it should have been that one of them doesn't have sex. I like it that it's possible they all did.
I think they did. Also, I don't care. But then you have Finch and Stifler's mom. This got a lot of laughs in the movie theater. Also, though, another potential crime.
He asked her for scotch, and she goes, yes, I have some, aged 18 years, just the way I like them.
Cool. He doesn't say that he's 18. She assumes that he's 18. Not the same. It would have been so easy for Finch to say earlier in the movie that he got those golf clubs that he...
For his 18th birthday.
Exactly. One line, just so that we, the audience, know...
You know, I was thinking about that, and I'm not a big, Scotch whiskey drinker, but I thought that a lot of these things are aged 17 years. And the fact that they said 18, I agree with you, Al. That's not confirming the age, but I think what it is it's telling the audience that his age is 18. I think that's what they're trying to do. I agree with you, Al. She could have carded him, and you know what? She could have run that card through a scanner because these kids are resourceful fake IDs.
Also, why is she at the house when all of these kids are having a party?
She's the cool mom.
That's also illegal, by the way. Being, doing that thing of, well, I'd rather them drink at home where I can supervise. And,
You're enabling.
You're enabling, you're not supervising, you're giving minors alcohol, and if something bad happens, you're liable, and that's a horrible, horrible idea. People still do that.
Yeah.
I've heard stories, but more potential crimes. And then the movie ends with them at the hot dog
Fast food place.
Yeah, they're talking about their exploits. The movie ends with Semi-Charmed Life. I could have sworn it ended with Laid by James, not you, the band. Semi-Charmed Life is a weird choice. It's about crystal meth.
Put a Blink-182 song in there.
There's Mutt earlier.
Yeah, during the Shannon Elizabeth scene.
Exactly.
I think Laid by James. I think that song might be in one of the other movies.
I think so too. It was in the trailer. It was in the American Pie trailer.
But speaking of the soundtrack, for a quick minute since you touched on it, this movie did have a very time-bound soundtrack. That was the soundtrack of that late 90s.
Yes. Although the music in the movie is great, and the music that's on the soundtrack album sucks. They didn't have the money to put the good songs on the album.
Exactly. I was wondering because Third Eye Blind is a song called New Girl.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, no, wasn't it Semi-Charmed Kind of Life? Semi-Charmed Life.
Yeah. And Mutt is on the soundtrack, but Flagpole Sitta is not. Hole is not. 1 Week by Bare Naked Ladies is not.
Yeah.
There are a lot of really good songs.
There are really good songs in the movie, but not on the soundtrack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
very weird.
Always comes down to money, what rights they can afford.
Mrs. Robinson.
A cover of it, but yeah.
That's another movie that I need to do with you guys, The Graduate.
Ooh.
If you've ever seen it.
Of course I've seen that, yeah.
That's a good movie.
It is. But let me ask you, Eddie, our very special guest, what do you think of American Pie? Does this movie stand the test of time?
Clearly, as you've seen, I have a lot of thoughts about this movie.
Yeah.
Both good and bad. Mm-hmm. So I'll start with the good.
Okay.
This movie had a lot of things going for it that really kept it in the zeitgeist, to quote you, James, for a very long time.
Yeah.
Right? It had a lot of sequels. It made a lot of money. It kind of parodied itself almost, in a way. As I mentioned earlier, it changed the narrative of the coming-of-age movie. So if you draw a line from the 80s coming-of-age movies, Porky's, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, all these movies had the original trope of the coming-of-age movies where you had guys wanting to get laid or mature in some way. You had beautiful girls. There were sort of side pieces. You had drugs or alcohol involved. You had some nudity. Fast forward to American Pie, you have some of those same tropes. You have the nudity, you have the alcohol, you don't have drugs, which was interesting choice for this movie. But then it changed the narrative. Like I talked about earlier, you had Stifler's mom as opposed to a young co-ed that happened to be like from the school that ended up fucking Finch at prom. You have Eugene Levy's dad, who changed the narrative on the dads. It changed the narrative on coming-of-age movies, and that's what I thought was good about the movie. Now, what's bad about the movie? The acting, the film scene of Shannon Elizabeth,
Right.
the pie scene, which is never going to happen again. So my verdict after all this is no. American Pie is not a movie that stands the test of time. It's an enjoyable movie. It's an enjoyable rewatch. I still holds a special place in my heart. But no, I don't think it stands the test of time.
Okay. James, what do you think?
Like you said, Al, thank you for just getting out of the way. That scene absolutely doesn't stand the test of time. You say they could never make the apple pie scene again. I don't know. I think they could make that scene again. My problem with that is I never found that scene funny. Maybe Eugene Levy's reaction of, maybe we'll just tell your mom we ate it all. Like, that's kind of funny. It was in the trailer, though. I do remember that. So
That's why you never watch trailers.
Yeah, but, it's so weird. 25 years later, I remember a joke in a fucking trailer. But you're right. The acting is, it's bad, but I think it's also just amateurish. I think these actors, they're fine enough for what I need to get in this film. And I think when you review a film like this, you do have to have a disclaimer, and you have to understand that this was made in the time it was in. There are going to be maybe entire parts that are just completely wrong, and we'll see if the heart of the film really carries the rest of it. And for me, I completely understand why you say no. I am able to go past that scene, so I'll say the film stands up. But it also does lead me to believe that these characters are not the noble characters that I thought they were in 1999, and I'm also okay with that. I'm okay with that. I have just a different version of them. These guys are jerks. But yeah, it's a very problematic film. So that's 1-1, Al. What do you think? Does American Pie stand up?
Oh man, I'm the tiebreaker. All pressure's on me. Well, we keep going back to the filming Nadia scene. If you even just set aside all of the problematic and criminal aspects of that for just a moment, also doesn't make any fucking sense. She's coming from ballet to Jim's house, so she has to change. Change at the fucking dance studio. Every dance studio has a bathroom, or if you're gonna go and change at Jim's house, change in the bathroom. Why would Jim think that she would change in his bedroom? That makes no fucking sense at all. You would automatically assume that she would go into the bathroom to change.
And then climb in his bed naked and search through his drawers and find the porn magazine.
And that kind of brings me to my next point, which is that a lot of these scenes in this movie, really, when you think about it, they could be the scenes from a porno. The beautiful exchange student comes over to study, but you know what she really wants. The guy asks the band nerd to prom, but guess what? She's super sexual. The loser goes to the party and he can't find a date. But then he meets the sexy older lady. These are porn tropes. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a scene in an early draft of this movie where someone orders a pizza and the pizza delivery person is a gorgeous woman who wants to fuck, right? And so they're all fantasies, and they're all male-focused fantasies. That in and of itself isn't a bad thing, but one, it's why you need women to write movies and direct movies and, be the stars of movies. See our recent episode with Kevin Smokler, Real Women Have Curves, for more on that topic. Yeah, so you can have different perspectives and different kinds of stories. Also, though, just having all of these male fantasies be the basis of your story, it doesn't really stand the test of time. Because in 1999, if you wanted to watch a porn-esque scene like this, the hot older mom, the sexy exchange student, whatever, good luck to you. Maybe you had a friend who had an older brother who had some VHS tapes. Maybe you'll be like Jim, who's watching scrambled porn, or, has a very sex-positive dad who will buy you magazines. For most kids, it's hard to find that kind of sexually explicit material in 1999. Now, it's not. And that is part of the appeal of this movie is, hey, watch this sexy exchange student be naked. That's the appeal of selling the unrated DVD. And yeah, now if you want to watch a video with a horny exchange student seducing a nerd, just connect to the internet and you can find infinity of those scenes in a matter of seconds. So from a test of time perspective, that doesn't work. The whole thing with Nadia, the filming her, I really had a tough time watching that scene. Now, did it bother me in 1999? No, it didn't. Oh, also at one point, Stifler hears Oz singing and calls him gay. I mean, I was glad he didn't use the F word, which happens a lot in these 90s teen movies. There's just so much in this movie that doesn't stand the test of time. Even though they promote safe sex, even though there's sex positivity, there's stuff about female pleasure. When they make the pact, he says it has to be consensual sex. And I was like, oh, good for them. They used that word. I wasn't expecting to hear that word in this movie. That's great. I saw something where the screenwriter said that he was trying to make a movie that was better and more modern than Porky's and Bachelor Party and like those movies from the 80s.
I think he succeeded in that.
Yes, exactly. And it can be true that he succeeded in that, but those standards fall short of today.
I think it's a capsule in time from that era.
Yeah.
And then we moved on.
Right. Honestly, this movie kind of made me want to watch Superbad, which I haven't seen in a long time. I feel like that movie's better and funnier and less problematic. I don't know for sure because I haven't seen it in a long time.
My memory of it is the same.
Yeah, so this movie has its place in movie history, but I will say that it does not stand the test of time.
The other thing that I was thinking of after I gave my whole spiel was the misogyny in it, the homophobic aspects of it, and the fact that it is a very white cast.
Yes, so goddamn white. There are black people in Michigan.
There are black people in Michigan. There's one black person in the whole movie.
Right, the choir teacher. Yes. Yeah. But Eddie, thank you so much for coming back on the show. This was great having you again.
Thank you guys. Great dialogue as always. I really enjoyed my time and can't wait for next time.
Right. Well, this time was your 5th time. And we have a little tradition around these parts.
Does it involve 3 condoms?
No, although I was thinking of making the joke at the beginning of the episode that we should make a pact by the end of this episode. None of us will be virgins or something. I forgot, whatever. Way too late to bring it up now. Yeah. But Eddie, welcome to the 5 Timers Club. Here's your hoodie.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. And looking forward for your 6th time, Spies Like Us?
Yes, let's do it.
Great. All right, well, that's going to do it for us this week. Next week, in honor of the new movie 28 Years Later, we're going to talk about the original movie 28 Days Later. I am very much looking forward to that conversation. That'll be a good time. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. We are at Test of Time Pod on Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. Write to us about your thoughts on American Pie, on losing your virginity, on bad acting, on scrambled porn, on fucking pies, whatever. This is a safe space. We do not kink shame here. And we'll see you next time, everybody.
Bye.